Hello? 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 How is everybody? Welcome to the stream. So today we're gonna be going over some little critiques of some character designs. There's a few illustrations as well, but it's mostly character designs. So I hope y'all are excited. Yeah. If you personally would like to have your stuff critiqued, you can join our Patreon. There should be a link down below. Or actually, Nightbot just posted a link in the chat as well. You can sign up, and monthly we do these critiques. We can look at comic pages, we can look at character designs, illustrations, prose. There's a whole list of things. Yeah, crows. You can look at your crows. But there's a whole list of things we can look at and give you feedback on, and we do it on these streams. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. All right, so let's get started. Who wants to go first? I saw Buny and Fitz, who are here. We have a few other people as well. Fado, were you up to trouble? Fado, be honest with me. Okay, let's see. Wop wop. Strawberry sweater, also your hair looks so good. Thank you, I just got it cut. If I could go early, that would be good. Sure, let's start with you, Bunny. Bunny. All right, let's see. Like to go second? Okay, awesome. So we'll do Bunny and then Fitz. So let me just find what your comments were. Okay, some more character designs you're struggling with. Oh right, because last time you submitted similar. These three are a family, 2 moms and a son. Less. So I wanted to bring the 3 of them together. Okay. A critique on how they work as a family unit design-wise. Okay, you've noted specific struggles. So first is Izem, I think. She's the village midwife and goes, and the go-to person for herbs and concoctions. She's a calm influence in the family. Been struggling with her gesture-wise. I think it's because she's more proper and something isn't working, if that makes sense. I see. Are you feeling like with her, like with the gesture and stance and stuff, is that she's like too straight, like standing tall type thing? Like too many straight lines and not enough like dynamicness in her posing? Is that what you're thinking? I'm good to go at any time sooner or later. Okay, Pigment Witch, we could maybe do yours third then. Let me see. All right. Too many straight lines, not enough dynamic. Okay. Well, so first off, her design is really cute. I really like her. She looks like a very like gentle, sweet character. Just because like a lot of her shapes are very like rounded. She's got very like just like this big sweet expression. Yeah, and I do get the look that she's a bit more kind of like prim and proper with like her stance. Her clothing is like very elegant. Yeah, I do like how she's also like a lot of her shapes are like rectangular, like kind of soft rectangles and stuff. I feel like that brings like, she seems like a very like dependable, sturdy person, which I think goes along well with like her her jobs and stuff. Doku, can we behave, please? I know Bones has misbehaved in the past, but please behave. So, right, anyways, yeah, I think you could bring in the kind of soft rectangles in a bit more. Because you've got it in like her jewelry. I can see it in her silhouette. And her hair. And like her shawl. Yeah, it might help with creating like dynamicness. What am I thinking here? You can have something that's dynamic even if it's very like straight up and down, side to side shapes. Behave, children are watching. Thank you, Bones. Hey, girl. Right, but I think like it might help even if she's very she's made of very straight lines. You could still create like dynamicness with her silhouette, if that makes sense. You could Because I think there is dynamicness in her skirt, for example. Because you have these like gentle curves that are happening. You can create movement using like the weight of the lines that you have here, where they start very narrow and like get heavier as they like dive into the fold. And yeah, which I think creates like a good amount of movement. So you might be able, even if her poses maybe are a bit reserved, I think you can still bring in that dynamicness by using like your line work. You can have overlap. Like I really like how the shawl overlaps and creates like a bit of like a contrast to the kind of straight up and down lines that are happening. And same with like her braids. It creates more kind of like movement and dynamicness by like having the lines and the textures. I think yeah, I feel like there's like she's got these like soft rectangle shapes, but she also has these kind of round shapes. Like there's a lot of roundness in her face and like the what's it called? The neckline of her dress. And some of the like details on her shawl and stuff. It feels like unbalanced though. I think you need to bring in those circles kind of more throughout, like whether that's adding like a design onto her skirt or maybe more layers in the skirt or having like her shawl kind of like come over top of it, maybe adding like I don't know, jewelry or a pattern or something to bring it through a bit more. Or you could I guess more lean into the rectangle kind of shapes. Yeah, I think with the posing as well, something that might also be causing the stiffness is like her arms feel a little bit, I think they feel like the most stiff to me. Like her expression feels like really dynamic. Like I really like the way you've done like the skirt and the clothing and stuff, but her arms feel like they need a bit of like, I think you need to do some referencing, like kind of look up some really kind of poised poses, and that might help you with like adding some dynamicness to the pose as well. What's a poutine? Poutine is a Canadian delicacy. It translates to a mess, and it's just fries and gravy and cheese curds, and it's really delicious. Does that make sense, Bunny? Yeah, I think what you might be running into is like her shoulders feel a little bit narrow and her arms feel a little bit stiff. That might be what's throwing you off. Because otherwise she seems like her design feels very like dynamic and cohesive. I want to try poutine one day. You can make it at home. It's pretty easy. You just get fries, get some gravy, add some cheese. You can add like pulled pork on top or smoked meat. It's really good. Pulled chicken is also good. Makes sense. I definitely need to reference and do studies more. The trials of not having life drawing sessions anymore. I know. Having life drawing sessions is so nice. But yeah, if you have like a partner or a friend or family, like who you can call upon often, you can have a lot of fun with like getting people to pose for you and take pictures. Like I haven't done it for a while, but I used to get Bones to like get up and pose for me all the time, so I find that helpful. You can also reference yourself in the mirror. So yeah, I think that might be your problems, like the shoulders and the arms. And yeah, I think there needs to be like a little bit more balance between like the square and circle motif throughout. I'll try that, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I think you do need to add something to the bottom of the skirt, just because like it's a big, like her kind of legs and torso look very long, but that's kind of like what the cut of this dress does is it really like makes you tall, because the skirt kind of starts like right at the chest. But yeah, but there's a lot of like detail happening on the top half of her character, like lots of texture and different shapes and stuff, and the bottom feels like it's a little bit empty. I thought Fado turned into Manica. They're the same dog. Totally not two dogs running around. Yeah, did you have any other questions for this one? Or anything I didn't cover? Such a pretty design, by the way. I think she's really pretty. Really pretty and really cute. Oh, another thing to maybe watch out for. Oh, I'm not sure. I was gonna say she looks young, but I just looked at the drawings of her kid, and he looks very small. Oh yeah, I get some kind of Zelda vibes. Oh, I like that. more questions? That gives me a place to do more iterations. No problem. Okay. Oh right. But what I was gonna say is she looks very young. I'm not sure if that's like intentional. I mean, you know, characters can be moms who are young. But she feels like in the close-ups where you see kind of more lines on her face, she feels a bit older. But then in the faraway shot, she looks younger. That's just something to note. Go, Mato, go, Mato, go. Oh, Manika, go sit on the couch, you silly girl. You silly sausage. There's a whole drama unfolding behind me. Oh, good girl, Manika. Alright, mom number 2. No bots yet? No, I haven't seen any. I think... I don't know, I feel like me saying maybe there won't be any is gonna jinx it. Manika! Hi. Mom. But yeah, maybe I've summoned them by talking about it. Age is something I've struggled with across the whole family, so that tracks. Yeah, it helps to... I'd recommend studying wise, like try and find, do some studies of like younger folks, so probably like, you know, teenagers and people in their 20s and 30s and stuff, and then maybe do some studies of like kind of older folks as well, and see if like the difference in the faces, because it can be lines in the face, it can be like your features kind of change a little bit as you age, just from like I don't even know what causes it, but like I'm not an expert in that, but it definitely like shifts around, because I think your nose and your ears continue to grow or something. I don't know if that's a myth, but but yeah, but it definitely helps to reference. It's even better if you can find like a photo of like an older I don't know, actor or actress or NB and then find photos of them when they're younger and kind of see like how their faces and bodies have like shifted with age. I think that would be a really interesting study to do. And then when you're drawing it, you can do that by like changing the facial shapes a little bit, adding some lines onto the face. Sometimes making a character look older can be just like the way they dress and act as well. So it can be pretty subjective as well. I don't think my ears have started to grow yet. I mean, you're not done fully developing as a human until 25. Old photos of family work too? That's a good idea. If I didn't cut my hair short, I don't know if I've really changed appearance-wise aside from losing weight. Are you taking random questions for chat? Not right now, dead man. Currently we're doing critiques. Yeah, I know with masculine people, adding beards can really age a character. Some people, when they're clean shaven, look so young, and then they have like a little bit of beard and they look like way older. So there's also people who look way older than they are. Yeah, there is that too. Some people just like look old. I have a baby face. I look super young. I look like I'm 12, even though I'm like, okay, I don't look like I'm 12, but I look really young for my age. All right, let's go on to the next one. So what did you say for this? Okay, so this is Mizuki. She's the leader of the village defense squad and wears all her emotions on her sleeve. Aw, BB. She feels very strongly and does everything for her family. I've been struggling with the shape language with her. I feel like I can push her shape more, especially in the body shape, but I'm struggling. Okay. So, looking her over... Yeah, I'm seeing this like kind of diamond square shape going on with her. I think that would be really cool if you could keep like the square shape between Mizuki and god, I've immediately forgotten the name. Izem. Because I think that would be like a really neat way to kind of show that they're like, I don't know, show that kind of like family bond by giving them similar like kind of shape language stuff. I thought that would be really cute, and I think you're doing a good job there. Whereas like Izem is more like soft circles and very round. Like Mizuki feels very like a lot sharper squares, and I do get that kind of like diamond feel here and there, just because like you can kind of see like the bottoms of her shapes kind of ending in points, and there being some like diamond shapes in like her face, and like especially from like the 3/4 view of her head, there's like a bit of a diamondy shape going on. Yeah, so I think it could be pushed a bit more. Yeah, because you could either push it more so it's like sharper, you're using sharper shapes, but that might make her look tougher than she is if she's supposed to be this more kind of like sweet character. Because like I really like the expressions like here and here where she's showing more like kind of like a soft side, but she also has this like very kind of tough side. So I think like expression wise you're doing a really good job of like showing her personality. I think I agree with you. You could push the shape more. Like I think my favorite is her here holding the baby, where like you've got these really nice like straight edges. I guess her cheek has a bit of like an indent kind of curve to it, but you're using these very straight shapes, and then you have these like, you can tell they're like kind of corner shapes, but they're rounded off a little bit. I think that works really nice, where in other places the corners feel very like smoothed out, and then in this full body drawing she's a lot more angular. So I think going in this direction will probably help a lot with defining that shape. Yeah, I like where you're going, where she has like these very like muscular arms. She's kind of like broad-shouldered. I think there's a few ways you could go with it with her body. I feel like you could make her very like broad at the top and kind of lean into the triangular shape. You could do kind of like 2 diamond stacks, so like her upper torso, she may have like wide shoulders and then like a small waist, and then her hips get bigger in that kind of like diamond shape. Or you could just go like wide shoulders and then smaller hips. I think both would work. Yeah, I feel like the shapes could also be pushed in her legs a little bit more. I'm not sure how yet. Because I like how you've got the kind of diamond shape at the bottoms of her pants, where they're kind of like puffing out a little bit after being like tucked into her boots. But her legs feel very like rounded. You might want to go more angular, like maybe doing like. Back off, be good.
No one is sitting.
Be good. Everyone in chat, tell Mariko to be good, please. It's okay. She's going and harassing Bones to sit with him, even though there's no room. Anyways, you could be more angular, I think, with the shapes. So you can still have like I think like showing off like the muscles in her legs would help, but adding like angularness to them, so like the like where the hip like or the thigh/hip area kind of flares out, you can add like a little corner piece, and then same with like where the calf curves. You can make it sharper. That is true. Manika does have an entire couch, but she wants to sit with you, Bones, because she loves you. Beast Wong Maguka, exactly. Cause Havoc Maguka no Doku. It's not even cold, I'm sweaty. But anyways, yeah, I think defining the muscles and adding these kind of corners to everything will really help sharpen her design up. Yeah, and I think you could bring more of the shape into her outfit as well. I do like the little, it looks kind of like a sweetheart neckline, but I like how it is pointed. Yeah, and I like the little square patches and stuff in her clothes. Lots of square accessories and stuff. Yeah, I might also in her hair shape. You've got a lot of like kind of S-curve stuff going on in her bangs and stuff. Sharpening them up might also help with her shape, adding in her shape. Bunny, do you have any other questions about this or like anything I didn't cover? I think gesture and like posing and stance and anatomy wise, it's looking really good. She looks very sturdy, and her posing is like nice and dynamic. I've gotten a lot of scars from being clumsy. Oh no. I'm also clumsy. I have baby hands, as Bones likes to say. Where I'll be standing there and then I'll drop things. My hands just let go. I don't know. I don't know what that is. That helps a bunch. Thank you. Awesome. So we can move on to the next one. The last member of the family. So this is their son, who remains unnamed. Good. I was convinced after years of having no name for him, I'd be able to think of one before Friday night. Amazing. Anyways, our boy is very energetic and seething with the need for adventure. Oh my god. Same. He's climbed every tree he can get his hands on. Is constantly giving Mizuki heart attacks. No! Be good to your mothers. I'm really worried about the proportion for him in regards, especially in regard to his age. He's supposed to be around 12 or 13. I don't think he's quite landing right. Oh, all the bracelets and necklaces worn by his mothers are made by him. That's such a cute detail. Oh my god. She hasn't learned how to grasp yet. Listen, I'm a baby. Okay, but oh my god, that is so cute. I love this character a lot. He's really adorable. Yeah, I think... When I initially looked at the design, I assumed he was like kind of 8 or 9. I wasn't quite getting like kind of like what is it, tween energy, like 12 or 13. I think it's hard. I find drawing characters that are around that age can be really difficult. Bone's gonna attest to this. I'm really terrible at drawing children. Yeah, and kids are weird because they can look very... their age can look... I don't know. Some kids definitely like grow faster so they look older, and some like grow slower so they're smaller. So it can be hard to tell. He looks 11-ish, but I don't spend time around children. Yeah, me neither. I think the body type is believable for the age. Definitely. Like, I think he feels more grown. I think it's in the close-up pictures where, like, his face looks younger than, like, the full body image. I think... Yeah, and I think it's, like, a proportion thing where, like, here, like, he's got very round features in the close-ups, whereas here it's a bit more kind of, like, heart-shaped and a bit more angular. Which I think helps make him feel like a little bit older. Yeah, I think it might also help to make him a bit like ganglier, I guess, like lankier. It's hard because like he seems like you want him to have like a little bit of muscle because he's like an energetic like climbing character. But yeah, maybe like making him like a little bit kind of lanky, skinny lanky, because like kids when they're that age are kind of like in the middle of a bunch of weird growth spurts as they become teenagers. So let me see. I think the high waist also kind of contributes to making him look younger. Because it makes his torso feel very short and it makes his legs feel very long. So yeah, I think the kind of shortened torso maybe gives the illusion of looking a bit younger. That might be something to play around with. Their arms and legs could push the age more. Yeah. You could have told me he's 5, I wouldn't question it. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, I would like to say I really like the little details in his design. I like all the little, like, I love the, like, braided suspenders and the little, like, bracelets and the hair tie and stuff. Like, I think that's a really cute nod to, like, this hobby that he has and, like, the jewelry and stuff he's made for his moms. I think that works really well. I like his outfit overall. It feels like a kid who, like, really likes adventure. It reminds me of, those old, like, I don't know, 1900s, like, explorer outfits that they used to wear. Yeah, but I might recommend dropping the belt like a little bit lower or making his torso like a little bit longer, just for that age thing. I love the untied shoe. I love like the gloves because he's doing all his climbing. I think it's really cute. It can also help, I find, when you're drawing characters of different ages, is to show like characters of different ages, if that makes sense. Like if you have two characters and one's like a 12-year-old and one's like a 5-year-old, you can really see, like, you can, I guess, create like your own style guide to show like the age, if that makes sense. So you can define it however you want, and then in the story you can say, like, you know, he's an 11-year-old kid and she's like an 8-year-old kid or whatever. But yeah, I love the freckles and stuff. The shapes. So yeah, I'm getting this kind of like, what would it be? Like, I guess like a teardrop shape or like a heart shape or in his face, because he's got like these very round eyes. He's got like rounded cheeks and stuff, really rounded like hair bits with like that like come to like points. I think a lot of it is missing from other parts of his outfit. You can see it a bit in the belt, and a bit in the sleeves, but it feels like his outfit is very angular. Like it's very square and rectangle focused, but then like his like face and hair, and I guess like his knees, because he's got these very like round knees and stuff. It's all very round shaped. So I think it might help to maybe bring, I think you need to mix the, I could easily give him a little sister. You could. But I need another name, oh no. The curse. But yeah, I think maybe you need to balance like the roundness and the squares throughout the design, because I think you can have both. Same as with like Izem. And again, I like the idea of bringing in like the squareness to show like the family unit stuff, connection between them all. How are we calling him Whoops? Yeah, but I think there just needs to be a bit more balance between like his body shape and then in his clothes, like whether that's bringing in more of these kind of round shapes into his outfit, or if it's like making his body a bit more like kind of square and angular throughout. So yeah, I'll leave that with you to decide. Was there anything else with this design that I missed? Names are hard. If you need one, just steal it from someone else. Yeah, like a fairy. Just steal their name. No, I use those baby naming sites a lot for naming characters. Especially ones where it's like a list of unique baby names that were popular in, I don't know, 2018, just random years. I can't think of anything else that helps a ton. Awesome. Well, good luck with these. They're looking really nice. I think it's a lot of just little finessing you need to do. Okay. So next we have Fitz. I don't remember where I put your stuff. Oh, here's one. I use behind the name. Yeah, I've used behind the name. I use Nameberry sometimes because they have like nice curated lists. He's gone through so many. Sometimes there's characters where it's just so hard to pick a name for them. Like, just nothing fits. I totally have had that feeling before. I totally understand. So sometimes, if you just choose a name and you stick with it, they kind of like, eventually it just clicks in your mind and it works. If you just kind of force it for a bit. I find that with RP characters a lot. Like, I'll just grab a random name that I'm not super like strong about, and then as it goes on, I just get used to it. The more OCs you have, the harder it is to name them, right? You don't want to like have the same name in like every story you have, or have multiple characters with the same name. Even though that happens in real life, like multiple people will have the same name, but you can't really do that in fiction because people have to be able to keep up with who's who. Okay. Fitz, my friend. Okay, so this first one is a new D&D character. He's an assassin named Nirvana. He's not a people person. Feedback on design, the standing, expression, and the stitches are tattoos, not actual stitches. Okay, I was wondering. I assumed they were stitches, but okay, they're tattoos. That's hard when you have like a character with a tattoo, because with like a simplified style, it's like, how do you show the difference? Because sometimes if you have a really like simplified style and you're drawing a character with like stitches, like you draw something like that, it's hard. It's a balance. Shading? Oh my god, I read that wrong. Thank you. Shading. I thought you meant posing. I was like, okay. Okay. So let me see. So first off, I wanted to say I saw this in the other designs you submitted. I think your like proportioning and like perspective on your characters has gotten stronger, where I feel like because I know in like some previous like submissions you've had like where maybe their shoulders feel like out of whack, or like things feel like too squished or out of alignment, but I feel like here you've done a really good job with like keeping everything aligned, really good proportioning, showing like the perspective of like the 3/4 turn. I think you've done a really good job with your submissions this month, and I wanted to highlight that. You can comment on posing too. Okay. Okay. For his design, yeah, I definitely get like villainousness. He might not necessarily be a villain, but with like the kind of like assassin type, he definitely seems more of like that I don't know, anti-hero or villain type. He's got some villainous vibes with like he's got these like, I don't know, villainous signifiers, I guess. Like I think part of it is the color palette and like the stitching, tattoos, and like he's got this like smile that feels very like trickstery, kind of. Mischievous, could be read as like evil, but also like he looks kind of sweet. I don't know. It's an interesting mix. I love the pointy teeth, by the way. Super cute. I definitely get kind of like that assassin vibe as well. I think from the clothing, it feels very like ninja inspired. With like the face covering, and like the robe and kind of pants he's wearing. Yeah, he's got a lot of like triangles going through the design as well, with like his face shape, a lot of the shape in his clothing, in his hair. Yeah, it's very kind of pointy and triangular, but there's also like some kind of curves and roundness to it as well, like with the puffy sleeves and pants and like the curves in his hair and stuff. Oh no. Oh no. We spoke too soon. Okay. He's not the most morally inclined person. He's ready to make part of the campaign, which should be interesting. Very good. Yeah, I think like he's got like, it looks like kind of like tired violet stuff under his eyes. I think that also feels like, it makes him look like kind of like sickly, I guess. I don't know why that's a villain signifier, but it is. But it is. Ursula's fault? How dare you, Doku? I've done nothing. But yeah, color-wise, the color palette, as usual, you've done a good job with the contrast. I really like the like color blocking on his outfit, where you've got like different sections that are different colors. I think that really helps with like defining his shape. It adds a lot of visual interest. The tattoos are also really cool. You've done a good job with like contouring the shape of him using like the lines and tattoos. I think you've done a good job of just like modeling the forms and showing depth, even with this like flat colored version of it. So yeah, really great work with that. As for the shading, let me see. I think, again, you've done a good job shading-wise, like modeling the forms, showing there's volume, without like over-rendering things. I think, though, what am I saying here? I think there's some bits I'm noticing, so around like his eyes, I noticed you've added in like lines to show kind of like that like tired look that he has in the flat version, but I think you're missing some of that color, that because I really like it in the flat version where you see kind of like the purple underneath his eyes, and it's definitely missing in the close-up. So yeah, I'd recommend kind of adding that in, and you know, obviously layering the shadows and highlights on top. But I think generally you've done a good job with your mix of like kind of hard edges and gradients, especially on the skin. The skin, you've done a good job of making it like the colors are, they really work, and there's a lot of like softness to the texture. That's done really well. It has purple on the first layer, so it got buried. Okay. Yeah, I'd recommend just darkening it a little bit so you can just read it a bit better. I think with the hair shading, I think with the shading on his hair, there's something about it that feels a little bit flat. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what it is. I think it's like there's some missing kind of gradient needed kind of around the back and edges, just to show that like his hair is a bit more like spherical, if that makes sense. Because you've done a good job with like his cheek and face here, where you can see like this gradient along the cheek that implies that it's round, but here like there's a little bit of gradient, but I feel like it's been kind of lost with the highlight. Or adding like a little bit more kind of softness to the shading around the edges will make it feel more spherical. But I think that's like a nitpicky kind of critique for it. The hair is something I need to study more in the near future. I feel like my current approach isn't cutting it. I think it's close. Because like you're definitely like shading the different pieces of hair in like these like locks. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good example of like an artist to look at who does similar kind of coloring style to yours. I'd have to think on that, but yeah. I think part of it is I think you need to bring more of that softness into the hair shading, because there's a lot of like sharp edges here, where I think bringing in more of that kind of gradient will really help soften things up. And like if you start with, I mean, I'm not sure what your process is right now, but if you start with like the more kind of general shading, so you figure out like the general kind of where the shadows and highlights are, and then go in and do some like detail work, that might help you out as well. So then you can see, like, you know, generally he'd have kind of shadow around like the edges of the hair, and it would be darker underneath, and then you'd have like the highlight up at the crown of the head and following like the circle, the sphere, whatever, and then go in and do like the detail of like each lock and bring in more highlights and shadows. That might help. You could already be doing that, and I'm just giving you useless advice, but I don't know. I find that helps me. That makes sense. I typically do the cell shading first, which makes things a bit trickier. Yeah, it can be hard because sometimes you'll... Actually, yeah, I've seen a lot of artists, like when I was studying the artist who did the Doki Doki Literature Club art. Oh my gosh, I can't remember her name now. Anyways, that artist, when she does coloring, she'll put the gradient down first and kind of figure out where the shadows are and then go in and do the detailing. So sometimes that can help as well. Sometimes it gets me stuck in the details more. I've totally been there. Yep. Yeah, and sometimes that can be tricky. Not your no, the artist of the game. I can't remember what her name, her name is. I feel like it's like Soupy or Soapy or something. Satchely, that's it. Possibly? Yeah, I think it's Satchely. Yep, that's it, Doku. But yeah, I found looking at her stuff, she does like very nice, she does kind of similar shading to what you do, where she uses like a mix of gradients and like cell shading, so she'd be good to look up. Though she does very like delicate line work, where you do more kind of like line work with a lot of like weight to it, but I'm sure you could find a good mix. It can make it harder to get the overall form down later on, so I think it's good advice to start with the gradients. Definitely, definitely. Give it a try. See if you like it. Alright, do you have any other questions on this one, Fitz? That's a good rule in general for art, starting big and then going into the details after. My problem as an artist is I do the big picture and then I don't go into the smaller details. So if you're the opposite of me and you stick with little details, it really helps to do the big picture first and kind of like block in shadows and highlights and colors and then start to condense it down. It's like sculpting. It's like you start with a big block and you kind of cut out pieces you need and then you whittle it down until you're doing little details. Anyways, that's good for this one. Awesome. Where is... Nope. Where is it? Nope. There it is. Okay, so these are Pathfinder characters. Okay, Drakbar and his robot companion Metatron. Oh, like the biblical angel. Okay. I'd like feedback on the anatomy, designs, color palettes, and anything else. Okay. So I really like the kind of neutral, warm palette you have going. Like, I really like how you're using, like, the greens. Sneak peek of what's to come. I really like the use of the greens, but they still feel warm because you've added, like, a little bit of... They're desaturated. There's a little bit of, like, yellow in his skin. His pants have a bit more blue in them, but they still have that kind of, like, neutral desaturatedness to them, and it works really well. Yeah, very good work with the limited palette. I think there's pretty good contrast throughout. Um, hmm. I think... I'm on the fence. But I think some of the colors... It's hard, because obviously they're different characters, so they might not have exactly the same color palette. But I wonder if it might be worth it bringing in like a little bit more red into the browns on Metatron. Similar to like, so the, oh no, what's his name? Drokbar. With his hair and tail, there's like a little bit more red brought into the brown. I wonder if you could bring that in a little bit more with like these, like ribbons and like the brown pieces of the metal. Bringing that in a little bit might help align them a bit. Though I do like how he's got kind of like the brown and yellow as like the mechanical bits. Like it looks like he has a prosthetic. And how that's like brought forward in the robot of his. Yeah, I'd be curious to see kind of like what it looks like bringing in a little bit more red here and there. I think a little bit more balance needs to be made on Metatron with the darker brown. So like, you've got the darker brown, you've got like 4 colors on him. So you've got like the yellow, the white, the light brown, and the darker brown. It stands out a lot on his hands, where his fingers are the dark brown, his palms are the light brown. And the only other places with the dark brown are like the ribbons and the little points on his feet, the little toes. And I think other places maybe need like a little bit of touch of the dark brown. Yeah, his lower legs, you could also maybe use some of these like ball joints. And maybe have like part of them have the dark brown or like a stripe of dark brown or something. Just to bring it through a little bit more, because it really stands out in his hands, having the light brown and the dark brown. It could also help balance it if you just made his palms white, so then it's very similar to like his feet. So that might help. I think that's the one standout thing for his colors. Or I feel like Drokbar's colors and design is very balanced. Like there's a good through line of like the yellows and golds and browns and the greens. There's good contrast between the different parts. And again with this one, really great work on like the proportions and the anatomy. It feels very structured, and you did a really good job. I will say though, if this is intentional, totally ignore me, because obviously like everyone's style is going to have like specific proportions that they just enjoy. I do find his hands and his like legs are very large in comparison to like his head and his torso. like, I find the legs are, like, well proportioned, but they just feel like they need to be shortened a little bit, or maybe, like, just scaled down a smidge. And same with his hands. And maybe his arms are a bit long. I'm not sure. But, yeah, because I do know you like the style of having, like, kind of larger hands and feet. But I would try shrinking them and see how you like it. It might help balance him out a little bit. I know for him in particular, because he looks like he's a very, like, strong character. Like, I like that he has, like, you know, like, muscles in his legs, and, like, I don't know, characters with big hands just are, like, I don't know, it's like a strong character design thing. So I think I think it works for him, but just something to keep in mind for, like, your other designs as well. I'd try making the legs a bit shorter and smaller, and same with the hands. He's meant to be an orc, so I was going for a more bulky, muscular build. I think you have the muscles down. I think it's just a proportion thing. Hopefully that makes sense. And if you're like, Ursula, I like it, I'm not going to change it, also totally fine. Don't let me... This goes for any of you guys. If I ever say something and you're like, that doesn't work for me as advice, don't take it. You know? People I've had lots of advice where people say things that I've learned from and things that I totally disagree with. So, I'll keep it in mind for proportions and future drawings. Yeah, just give it a try. See if you like it. What, did you have any other questions about this? Anything I missed? I also really like your line work in this one. I think you've got a really good balance between, like, the thick lines and the thin detail lines as well. Good job. You told me to draw smaller hands and I made them bigger. Hey, if you like it, you like it, you know? Don't let me yuck your yum. A read on their personalities. So Metatron seems shy to me. I noticed people in chat were saying that he looks like he's gonna, like, call you an idiot, but I feel like he's really shy and, like, a do-gooder and, like, follows the rules and stuff. And has, like, a very cute personality, a very gentle personality. I feel like he's gonna do a lot of this. Like, he's asking, like, oh, could I maybe do this? Like, I get that vibe from Metatron. And as for Drakbar, I don't know, he seems confident and he seems like, what's the word? He seems like confident and chill, maybe very, like, level-headed, maybe a bit too serious sometimes, but not, like, gruff, I guess. Yeah, and I feel like probably very intelligent, but maybe I'm just getting that because he builds robots, so I'm like, he's gotta be smart. Yeah. Those are the vibes I get. The gradient on the tail is cool. Feels like his whole body is hairy. Oh, I just assumed that, like, the gradient implied, like, the fur kind of, like, shortens as it goes up the tail. And then he's just got, like, normal skin. I mean, everyone's got little hairs on their skin. Even orcs. Yeah. That was what it was meant to do. The hair on the tail shortens. Yeah, that's what I figured. Makes sense. Ignore me. Yeah, let me know if there's anything else. Fits. Thanks for the feedback. Awesome. Thanks for submitting. All right, so Pigment Witch wanted to go next. Sorry. Having trouble pronouncing your username. Okay. Let me see. What were your notes? Here's my submission for the critique. The first is the cover art for my comic. I'd like to know what initial impressions are and what vibes it gives off. Okay. The cover for your comic. Okay. I'm assuming the title is "And the Cycle Continues." Pigment is fine. Okay. Okay. So, I get... Okay, what are the vibes? It feels very... Okay, obviously it reads like a fantasy story. It feels like... So I'm not sure with this, like, globe, if it's our Earth or if it's like a fantasy world. It's hard to tell. Because I'm like, those could be the shapes of our continents, but it's hard to tell. The title is "And the Cycle Continues." Okay. So I'm not sure if it's in our world or in a different world. It feels like it's going to be dealing with, like... So the character on the front, she feels like she's either, like, a goddess who will appear through the story, or she's the main character, and the main character has, like, cosmic or goddess powers, or will eventually get them. It's hard to tell. She looks like a good character. Like, it looks like a force of good more than a villain. Okay, so she is the goddess who created the world. Okay. I love how her hair, like, disappears into the, like, space dust stuff. It's really, really pretty. I also get... This might just be me, but I get, like, Madoka Magica vibes. If you've ever seen that anime. But maybe that's just me. But yeah, and I love the, like, the star in her forehead that, like, looks like a kind of North Star type thing. And how it, like, kind of shines through her. I think that's a really nice touch. So yeah, it seems like it's a fantasy story that's gonna deal with cosmic elements. I love Madoka Magica, hell yeah. Yeah. Okay, so those are the vibes I get. I really like the effects and shading going on. I love the, like I said, I love the hair and how it, like, combines with, like, the rest of the galaxy. I love the kind of inner glow that's happening, where you see, like, the shine on her arms and, like, the inside of her palms and the shadows on the outside. Like, that's a really strong light effect, and it looks really cute and nice and pretty. I tried to make it look like the light source, like the star. I think... yes. I definitely get that it's... Okay, it makes sense now that you've mentioned it. I'm not sure if I connected that. Like, I was seeing the little glows, the glowy dots on her arms and stuff, and like on her horns. Like on her horns and face, it makes sense. Like you see the little light shine and the glow and stuff coming from around her face. But I assumed there was like, I guess more like a stronger light shining on her arms. Because it feels like the light source would be like right here to get these shadows on her arms, if that makes sense. And I feel like there'd be more kind of cast warm light on her horns more. Like it feels like there's a lot of strong glow like right in the center, and then it like dissipates really quickly, whereas down here it's like casting a really long way, if that makes sense. And I just assumed because there's these very warm shines like on her skin, and like I really like the little light here on her arm and stuff, and like on her collarbones and like the hem of her shirt and stuff. I feel like there'd be more warm light shining on her skin and on her shirt, whereas like it's difficult because she does have very cool colored skin, so you'd have to find a way to balance like having that warmth. It would help to cool down the shadows on her, so using more kind of like more blues in there, more like bluey purples on the shadows, because right now the shadows are very warm. But typically when you have warm light shining on something, the shadows tend to be cool, and when you have cold light shining on something, so like think like white or blue light, the shadows tend to be warmer colors. So that's something to keep in mind. It can be difficult for something as like fantastical as this scene, but just something to keep in mind. I'd also say she needs more shading like on her shirt, because she'd have more shadow kind of beneath her bust, whereas she looks like she's being lit from like in front of her instead of it coming from like her face, if that makes sense. There'd be more shadows kind of down here. I think you could also get some more highlights like on the top of her cheeks, like this kind of like plane, you know how it's kind of more flat here, right beneath your eyes, and then it kind of drops off on your cheeks. For me, it's really high up because I have high cheekbones, but so yeah, so the upper part of her face, kind of like around the nose, would be lit probably, and then it would get more shadowed kind of down her face. But I do like how you have like highlights on like the top of the lip and like on the chin, and on the eyelids and stuff. I think keep that, but maybe like adding some highlight kind of around those areas would also help. Yeah, I really like how her hair, like I love the way you've used these like kind of transparent lines and how the hair just like blends through to the back. I think that works really nicely. I think the shading on the globe looks really nice as well. Like you get the idea of like the star shining down on top of it. You could add a bit more contrast at the very kind of here where you've got this like shadow. Just darkening it up like a little bit would probably help with contrast and getting the kind of glow shining on top of it to really stand out more. I'll tinker with the lighting a bit. Yeah. Her hair was the most fun bit. It looks really pretty. You did a really good job with this like galaxy texture in the background. And yeah, and I think you've done a really good job with shading the the world, I think the shadows just need to be heightened a little bit, like adding a bit more contrast. Yeah, I also wouldn't be afraid of, like, with the shadows on her, especially, like, as it gets farther away from, like, the glow of the star. Like, don't be afraid to go even darker with this and make it really... You can really make her form kind of, like, stand out against the galaxy in the back. So heightening the contrast will definitely help you out on that end. And I think the typography of the title. I like how at the bottom you've left space for it. Like, I think that's a great place for your title to be. I think, however, it is kind of shoved to the bottom a bit too far. I'd recommend bringing it up, and don't be afraid of letting it overlap kind of like the bottom of the world. I'd recommend putting it on 2 lines as well. Or having, if you bring it up, maybe put something like a byline or a log or a tagline or something below it. I'm not sure. But I think bringing it on to 2 lines would also help. You could either put or 3. You could put "and" in 1 line, the cycle in the middle, and then continues at the bottom. Or you could have "and the cycle" at the top, and then continues at the bottom. You can play around with it quite a bit. I'd keep the cycle together, though, just because that's like a single thought. But you can move the other elements around. Anyways, I think that'll help kind of make it more visually interesting. You also don't want your typography and any element in your composition to be like shoved down into the bottom or like the side or the corners. They should be, especially for like a cover page, typography should be incorporated into the composition as much as possible, because it is part of the composition. And don't be afraid to it sucks because you did work a lot on painting this, I'm sure. So you're like, I don't want to cover up my pretty artwork with just lettering, but definitely do and account for it early on in the process, because with a title page, the typography is a big part of the composition. Yeah, but I think contrast-wise, the white on the colors you've chosen works. But I'd also play around. It's hard to say. I think I definitely would play around with the placement and using multiple lines for your text. But I'd be curious about maybe using a font that's a bit thicker. It's hard to say. I think it works, honestly. It's got this very angelic kind of peaceful look to it. So you have 2 versions, one with text and one without. True. But yeah, I think that would help you a lot. But otherwise, this looks really great. Really great color choices. The colors all feel very cohesive and balanced. You've got the yellows coming through with the star and her outfit, and the yellows and the green, and lots of wonderful purples throughout. Yeah, I think this is really lovely. I kept swapping between 1 to 2 lines. It's definitely difficult to choose because sometimes you're it works with 1 line. I don't know. I'd try 2 lines, see how you like it. You could also try moving it up as 1 line. If you do move it up as 1 line, I'd maybe make it a skosh smaller, a smidge smaller. Sorry, a skosh. My boss always says skosh instead of smidge. Just to get it away from kind of the edges as well. Because you want if you do plan to print it, I don't know if you're doing digital or if you're printing, but it's just good to have kind of a bit of margin all around the edges. It just makes things feel a bit better. I think a good rule of thumb with composition is like either you want padding along the side, like a bit of margin around all the edges of your composition, or you want things to completely come off the page and like disappear beyond it. You never want something like almost touching an edge, because then it becomes distracting and becomes a bit of a tangent. I'll try a bit of everything. It's going to be a webcomic only for now. Okay. I think it's still a good rule of thumb to do the margins, but just visually. But yeah, if you don't have to print, you also don't have to worry about things being cut off. But yeah. Do you have any other questions about this one? Anything I didn't cover? Covered everything? Awesome. All right. Oops, wrong one. I think this is the one. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. So the next one is a design for Nyx. They, them. Nyx is the main character, and Lydia, the next character design, is the love interest. The designs also have some practice expressions to test the style for the comic. I'd like to know opinions on the overall design and proportions, shading opinions, as I don't typically do cell shading. Okay, so you usually do the more kind of like gradient soft shading type stuff. Okay, awesome. So first off, I love them. They're very adorable. I love the hair. It's just so cute. It's just got such like floof to it. It's so nice. All right. So I think for the shading, I think you've got a pretty good sense of like where to place shadows compared to like light sources. Like this feels like a very general kind of like lit shadow scene type thing because it's for a design, so you want like lots of light or whatever. So you've done a good job of like placing the shadows in the right place. Like the light seems to be coming in from the right, their shadows mostly on the left. You do a good job with like modeling your forms, so like following like the curve of the calves and like showing the muscles and like outlining the face and the nose and stuff. Like I think you do a general good job with like placing your shadows, and I think your cell shading works as well. It's not distracting, it's placed in all the right places. I don't think you have to worry too much about like I think a lot of what you do with your more kind of soft style comes over into the cell shading really well. They have powers. Nyx shapeshifts, and Lydia has plant magic. Oh, bless. Very good. Okay. But yeah, so I think you've got a good sense for like the shadows and the shapes of the shadows and stuff. I think that all works really well. It feels very solid. You do a good job with showing the shape. Your characters feel very like sturdy, if that makes sense. Like you're good at showing like the volume and 3D-ness of their form without like going too detail heavy, which is really nice. And I think you just do it through like shape and line and like where you're placing your shadows and highlights. I'm used to blending all the hard lines away. I think you do a good job. I think in general you do a good job with it. it's definitely a balance when you're trying to figure out like where to limit your shadows and stuff when you're cell shading. One thing I will say is I think there's a lot of mid-tone going on in the colors you've chosen here. So mid-tone being like if you picture in like Photoshop or like Clip Studio or like a digital painting software, you know that square where you can pick your color from. So how does it go? It goes on the left side, things are desaturated and gray. On the right side, things are very vibrant and full color. At the top, things are light, and at the bottom, things are dark. So here, a lot of the colors you've chosen are a little bit desaturated, which is fine. That feels like a style choice, which is fine. But I find on the up and down, like light to dark scale, everything's kind of in the middle, and it's all very similar with all the different colors you've chosen. I use the triangle, but yeah, same idea. So everything feels kind of in the middle. It's maybe like a little bit dark, but it's all very the same. So like you've got like this dark kind of bluey teal for the jeans. Their skin is kind of like more this dark orange. Their top is very like this kind of dark purple, and then their hair is kind of dark. I think you've got like I'm not sure. I think there's good balance between like the hair, which feels like dark, like a little bit darker than the other colors as compared to like the skin tone. But I think like their top and their shorts and their shoes, it all feels very the same. I might push for like adding in, even on like the cuffs of the jeans, like maybe lightening it up more. So you get contrast between the different pieces of the jeans. Maybe darkening the top so it's like a really dark purple. And same with the shoes, just so that like the different pieces aren't all the same value. You have more contrast going on. I think in general you could bring some more kind of highlights into their design. Like you have like the white on the shoe, but even that, it's been kind of like darkened a little bit. I'd brighten it up and make it a bit more light just to get more contrast throughout. Same with their eyes. I like how saturated it is and you get like this really nice blue coming, but maybe like lighten it up a little bit so that there's some more kind of contrast to everything. I want it to be a bit less saturated in day-to-day and use more vibrant stuff for fight scenes. Yeah, totally. I think that's a really great style choice. But yeah, I think you need to push kind of light and dark a bit more. Everything's kind of in the middle right now. So as for their overall design, so Nyx feels like personality-wise, like they seem very like fit and very like adventurous, I guess. Just because like they've got like they're very muscular. They seem like, just because like with the running shoes and like the kind of high collar top with the missing sleeves, it just feels very like sporty to me. So yeah, so they feel like a very like energetic, sporty character. Very muscular. I really like it. They get different outfits throughout the comic, but I'll keep that in mind. Keeping all the same colors for each character. Yeah, they don't have to be like the same color for every outfit, but generally like it's good to have like a color through line for your main characters. I'm sure you probably know this stuff. Fighting crime boys. Yes. Yes. I feel like they're gonna punch a crime boy. The big sibling of the friend group, yeah. Yeah, I get that vibe. Um, but yeah, but it's good to have like a color through line. Like they don't have to wear the exact same colors for every outfit, but like having kind of a similar color scheme for each of them definitely helps. What else? Proportionally, I think you do a really good job. Like I was saying, like your shapes feel really sturdy. I think you've got pretty good perspective stuff going on. I think their neck is a little bit long. Like from the pose, I think you do a good job of showing like they're kind of like lean back, kind of I guess puffing out their chest a little bit, but their neck seems just a little bit long, a little too far to the right, or I feel like it should be starting like here, if that makes sense, and their chin should be like here. But body-wise, I think you've done a good job with like all the proportioning. And I love the expressions. I love the surprised one especially. Yeah, really, really cute, very expressive. Yeah, love the design. Yeah, I know what I'm doing, whispers. I don't know what I'm doing. Energy. Nyx's purples, Lydia's greens and yellows. I see, I see. Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah, they seem like shape-wise very boxy. I think you could push that a little bit more. Like I love the swoop of their hair, that kind of S-curve that goes through it. I wonder if you could bring that elsewhere in the design, whether that's like whether that's through like accessories or I don't know, shapes in their clothing or something, bringing in that curve a little bit. Because like they have curves in their like body type and stuff, which I think works well. But I'd like to see it incorporated in their outfit a little bit more. Maybe like some more kind of boxy shapes or more of that like S-curve shape, that wavy curve shape. Just to bring it together a little bit more with like a shape through line. And you could do that pretty easily with like the hems. Like you could do like how would you do it? It could be like rolled so that like it looks like it was kind of rolled kind of messily, so there's like a little bit of like overlap between the different folds and stuff, but it can create like a kind of wavy thing. You could do like embroidery or like color blocking or accessories like a belt or something. And you said you're going to be changing the outfit, so I'm sure there's lots of other clothing ideas you could use for it. I do big stuff and forget to add details later and decide, oh my god, you're like me. Yeah, but doing like little details like that to really bring the shapes together can go a long way. Yeah. Is there anything else for this design that you wanted me to go over? Or any questions you had? Waist scorf. Okay, I can go on on to the next one. If you have questions, I'll answer them, but there's always a bit of a delay. Okay, so for Lydia, who said has plant powers and is the love interest. First off, she's so cute. I really like the color palette. She uses vines to move around. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I really like her expressions. I like how she expresses like very differently from Nyx. And I really like her glasses. They're very cute. Let me see. So I think color-wise, I have the same feedback as I had with Nyx, where I think the colors are a lot of mid-tone. The exception would probably be like the seat of the wheelchair and like her hair are very dark. But like I find like her overalls and like her shirt. Well, I like the color choices again. Like I like the balance between like the greens and the yellows and even her skin tone like has this kind of like yellowy orange warmth to it. That really works with the yellow and stuff. I'm finding that a lot of it is very mid-tone. I think you could really work to push the contrast again. So for example, you could really lighten up the yellow of her shirt and then make the overalls darker, or vice versa. You could give her more of like a darker kind of yellowy orangey shirt. Sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm falling apart, guys. Okay, but yeah, but just messing around with the contrast would really help. So like, you know, darkening the yellows and then making the overalls brighter. You can definitely play around with it a lot. I think that would really help with the contrast stuff. But I like the balance of her outfit. I really like how she's got like the shorts and then the long sleeves. I think that adds like some nice contrast to her design. She feels very... I also definitely get like the plant magic vibe from her. She feels like a plant mom. Like she'd have like a bunch of houseplants that she loves. Maybe it's the... I mean, she does have like flowers in her hair tie, but like maybe it's the overalls where I'm thinking like gardening with her. But I think it's a really strong design choice. I think it looks really cute. Again, your forms feel very solid. I think you've done a good job placing all of the shadows with your cell shading. I think there's some places where some of the form is being lost, where I think you need to add a bit more shadow. For example, the crease of her elbow probably needs some shadow to it, just to define that shape a little bit more and define the difference between like her upper arm and her forearm. And then same with her hips, because she's sitting and because like her arms are like overlapped, there'd probably be more shadow kind of along her hip area, and you'd see the folds in her clothing there. So that's a small note. I do think you've done a good job with like her shape language. It feels, I think, stronger with her than it did with Nyx, where she's got a lot of this like squareness to her design. She's got like very square flats. You see a lot of squares with like the wheelchair shapes, with like her overalls, like turtleneck. Her bangs are very square with some like little flares coming off it, of course. But I think you do a really good job with her shape language, and I'd love to see, like, as you work on more outfits and stuff, having that shine through with like all of her different outfits. So I think that's really strong there. I think there's a really good balance between like the squares and the circles, and it's just really well balanced with her. I'm glad she fits the plant mom vibe, definitely. Oh heck, welcome to the stream. But yeah, I really like her. She's really cute. I think, so if I'm looking between the two designs, I think they pair really well. Cause like, I like the... Okay, so one thing with designs for characters with color and shape, a good technique to use is having like a through line between like groups of characters, shape-wise and color-wise. So for example, if you have a villain team, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example to illustrate this. Okay, a really good example that Bones and I always go back to is Gurren Lagann, that anime. The main characters have a really strong design through line. They all have like red and blue and yellow, I think, for their designs, and those primary colors are generally like kind of main character colors, but obviously you can use whatever colors you want. Oh, Cowboy Bebop does it too. Yeah, where there's the through line of the blue and the yellow for them. And red, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, main characters. They have the primary colors. Superman, Wonder Woman. Yeah, she is yellow. But anyways, so that's typically like main character colors. But those, a group of like your main characters will probably have like a similar shape through their stuff, through their design, like color and shape. And then same with like a villain team. Villain colors tend to be like green and purple, and orange. Yeah, as Bones is saying, the secondary versus primary colors. And typically like a villain team will have like a shape through line as well. So that's a really good way to hint at characters being like aligned with each other. But obviously you can play around with this if you want to show that characters are very like opposite in personality. You can use like very different shapes and colors. So I think if these two are your mains, and I know they're like love interests of each other, it might help to... Sorry, so I like the contrast of the yellow versus the purple. I think that creates like a nice complement, just because like, you know, yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel. So I like that a lot, but I think you could like harmonize their secondary colors a little bit to kind of like show them being a bit more of a team. Or hinting at them coming together, I guess. I don't know if they're actually on a team together. But maybe like aligning... It's hard because I like the green on her because she's all plant-like and stuff. But maybe bringing in some green onto Nyx would maybe help. Or adding like a third color that can harmonize between them. So yeah, just something to think about and consider. Honestly, it might help to have a third color that kind of harmonizes them, because I like the combinations that they have, where like Nyx is very blue and purple, and Lydia is like green and yellow, and maybe just something else to kind of bring them together, whatever color you decide is. My story has a lot of morality questioning scenes, so I didn't focus too much on picking villain colors. Yeah, totally. But yeah, I think that's just something to consider. I think that's it. Did you have any other questions or anything I didn't cover for Lydia's design or Nyx's? Don't have any questions? Awesome. Well, thank you for submitting. Okay. Kuro, would you like to go? Because I don't see Ink. Or maybe he's here, but I haven't seen him. Maybe I missed him. Okay. Kuro, my friend. Okay. So the first is a character design. This is Ewoz? Iwoz? An antagonist from Deity Wars. Is that a comic of yours? I can't remember. Oh, Ink said they may not make it. Okay. Can I get a critique on her design and if her power makes sense? Her power is the right side. And that's her merged with Ibota, the eye/spider. Okay. Oh my god, 9,000 years old. 7 foot tall? Jeez Louise. Okay. So I think so let me see. Okay, so I like the what am I trying to say here? I think you've done a good job with the contrast in the design. Like you've got a good mix of using, like it's all monochrome, but you've got a good mix of like really dark greens to use for blacks and stuff. And then using like lighter colors, and you're also playing around with like the saturation and the desaturation, which I think is a really nice touch. I like how she has these really like bright green kind of highlights on her outfit and her eyes, and then again on like the eye creature and the spider and stuff. I think that's a nice touch. And yeah, and I think you've got pretty good contrast between all the different parts. I really like the fiery kind of design on her outfit. It's really cool. And I like how you've got shape-wise like a mix between these kind of like rounded shapes and then like the spikes everywhere with like her like ear and hair and claws and stuff. Oh, it's that one with the humans in hell. Okay, I remember that comic. Yeah, so I like so when she's using her power, she's got like all the different hands like a spider. I think that's really cool. That's a cool power. Um, I'm not quite sure I understand like her lower jaw disappearing, but it is cool. It is a cool design choice. Like, I guess it kind of makes sense because with her arms and stuff, like she obviously has like, you know, powers where like body parts can disappear and stuff. So I think it works for the mouth. It's a very cool choice that makes her look like even more monstrous, I guess. And I like how the tongue is still there to kind of give this like creepy effect. I am curious, like, because she's very spider themed, but she also has this like kind of cat fox look, like with the tail and with her ear. I'm curious about the connection there because I can see it a little bit in like the spider form. There's this kind of like face looking thing on her back. But I am curious about the connection there. It can snap like a snake in her normal form. I thought it would be fun. Okay, I like it. I like the jaw stuff. She also has ooze magic. What is ooze magic? She's a ghoul fox. Okay. Huh. It's an interesting mix of things. Okay, so I definitely get fox from it, especially with the tail and stuff. I like the little texture you've done with like the fur, especially with like coloring the line art so it mixes in with the fur. Outside of the like the very outlines and stuff. I think you've done a very good job there. I also think your inking's really improved. You're getting a lot better with like controlling like the thickness and using different line weights. I really like the work you're doing with like coloring the line art in different sections. And I also really like what you've done with like coloring in like the inside of these like gloves with like black shadows and stuff like under the chin and stuff as well. I think that's done really well. I think her kind of waist section feels very lumpy. Like, don't get me wrong, we love a girl with rolls. Oh, she's a fox, but her Mizuki is a spider. Okay, so she's a fox at base, but she has like a spider thing that like influences her. Okay. There's also such a thing as a fox spider? But I can't just look at real spiders without crying. Oh no. Yo. Okay. Okay, so that makes more sense. So she's a fox and then she has spider influence. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Especially with her initial versus her magic design. Okay. Oh, but like I was saying, I think there's a lot of kind of lumps going on in her midsection that aren't there elsewhere. I think you can have them, I should say. But I think, like, I'm not quite sure I understand, especially, like, down here at her hips, where there's, like, folds, but it doesn't really quite make sense with, like, she's wearing, like, a bodysuit. I'm not really sure why there'd be lumps here. It might just be, like, an anatomy thing, where you're showing like more folds in her stomach and stuff, but it feels like it's not quite there proportionally. There's just something a bit weird about it because she doesn't have I don't know where else you'd put it, but like she doesn't have, maybe you see it a bit here. It's hard to tell because she's got like the hands and stuff in front, but like are you trying to show like she's got like a bit of like a stomach what would you call it? Like showing the contour of her stomach here. I'm not sure. It just feels like it's a little bit too detailed here, where the rest of like her legs and stuff feels very like smoothed out by the clothes. Extinct names? What the heck is an extinct name? Like just names people don't use anymore? Or no one living has? That's interesting. I'll have to look at those. I was trying to make her bend a bit. I did change the pose multiple times. That probably messed it up. Yeah, because I like how you're showing like the bend in her waist and stuff. Like I like it here a bit more in her monster form, where you see like she's got like her hips cocked and you can see like it follows the form just a little bit better, where you see kind of like the folds in her skin. And the outfit, I guess, too. But here it just feels a bit off. So that's just something to note for like future drawings of her. What else am I thinking? I'd be careful with some of the... So in the future when you're drawing your comic, I'd be careful about the overlap here. So this hand that she has that's like floating in front of her stomach, it's the same color as like the center part of her bodysuit. So it blends in a lot. So I'd be careful like making sure you're using like shading to differentiate it, or just avoiding overlap like that, just because you can lose the shape of this like floating hand in like the details of her clothing. So that's just something to keep in mind for future drawings. So extinct names are ones no one uses anymore. My grandmother's name didn't appear on the registers at all in 2020, so I guess it's labeled extinct. Whoa. I may give the hands a glow. That would probably help. Especially if they had like an outline glow. I guess you could also make like the bright green stuff glow as well, but it would be interesting and help differentiate it on like darker colored stuff. Hi. Miku! She probably does. Go Miku, run free! Yeah, so I think that would help. Now, it's hard to say, because she is a 7 feet tall monster creature. But I feel like her legs are very long. So if that's unintentional, I might make her legs a bit shorter. If it's intentional, then disregard me. But they're very long in comparison to her her body and torso. They're not normally all that close. I just wanted to get them all in. Oh yeah, definitely. Like I assume they can... Her magic hands can like fly off all over the place. So yeah, I would... Yeah, do you have any other questions for this one? Or anything I didn't cover? Let me know. I should point out she only has one ear. I didn't forget to draw it. Oh yeah, that's what I figured. She feels like very... She just has the one ear, and the other half of her head is just covered in hair. I just assumed, because she's like a monster-y creature, that... Yeah. I assumed it was part of the design. Okay, that's great. Awesome. Okay. Second is a cover concept for Free Kick. It's a sports and romance comic. Yeah, I think you showed the characters last time. You let me know if it entices you to read it, and if the background isn't too much. Anything else is also helpful. Okay. So I think looking at it, I think the background might be too much. It's very much the same value as the stuff in the front. Like the characters in the front are a little bit darker than the background, but the background has very much like the same saturation, if not like a little bit more saturated than the foreground. And I think it's a little bit distracting from the characters and the title and stuff. If I were you, like, I like the texture on it, and I like that it's using like the main colors of the purple and the green. If I were you, I might lighten it, I think. It's hard to say. You could either go like really dark and make the foreground lighter to pop out from it more, or you could go really light and then make the foreground characters like darker, if that makes sense. But right now they're very much like the same kind of value. I love this friendly critique. Oh, that's chill. Oh, I'm glad. I hope you're having fun watching. Oh my god. Holmes is playing with the dogs in the background. Lower the transparency. Yeah, you can do that. I feel like you get the idea that it's like a kind of like sport and romancy type thing, just with the characters. Like they look like they're either friends, maybe a couple. Woo. So I definitely get that, and it feels sporty, especially with the title Free Kick. Oh, hi, Glad. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you saw the critique from the last stream for your comic you submitted. Right. But yeah, it feels like a very kind of like happy fun, kind of like happy-go-lucky vibe to it. I think you've got all the elements kind of in the right general area, but I think they might need like a little bit of tweaking. I saw the critique in my comic. Thanks for taking the time. Oh, no problem. Thanks for submitting, Clad. But yeah, so I think, so like I talked about with Pigment's submission, I think your text for the title, like I like where it's placed. I think it really works up here and having like the characters kind of curve around it, but I think you could do something interesting if you made it like a little bit bigger and tucked it behind the characters so they kind of like overlap maybe the bottom of the word kick. Just a little bit, like you want to show enough that you can still read the word, but you can overlap it a little bit to give visual interest. Oh, sorry, clicked the wrong thing. I think that could be interesting. I might also tilt it, like rotate it to the right a little bit, like towards the character, so it's a little less skewed and a little bit more straight up, just to make it like a little bit easier to read. I do like how it's tilted. That adds like visual interest and makes it like fun. But I think it's tilted just like a smidge too much. I'd push it back a little bit. I'd also recommend using a font, but obviously if it's a stylistic choice where you want it to be handwritten, don't worry about me. I just tend to go for more I learned from my mistakes of hand lettering Sovereign's logo when I hated it, so maybe I've scarred myself with my own mistakes. But yeah, I typically go with like a font, but obviously disregard me if you're like, no, I chose this, I'm not changing it. I think I tried to avoid covering it because it's only one of 2 volumes, unlike the others. I don't think you should be afraid of covering it. Like, I think logos and titles and stuff should be able to kind of like overlap or go on top of or behind elements. I think they can be kind of like distracting if they don't kind of interact with the rest of the piece as much. You've got a little bit of overlap, like it's touching the outline of the character and stuff. But I think it would be a bit stronger if it was like a bit bigger and kind of tucked behind these characters. Because I like where they're positioned in the piece. I think it adds like visual interest. I will use a font. I haven't found one I liked. Ah, I see. You can write on top of the font if you want it to look handwritten. Yeah, you can do that. The other thing with the font and logo stuff, like it might be just because it's a placeholder right now, but I'm not sure if the yellow works so much with the green and the purple. Just that particular shade of yellow. Like I like the vibrance of it. It fits that kind of like poppy aesthetic, the really like vibrant poppy stuff. But I think the color is clashing a little bit. So I might adjust the color of it if I were you. Whether you go with like white or black or a different maybe shade of yellow. Because yellow would work because it does contrast with the purple, but I think it's clashing with the green right now because the green's more blue. I'm not sure what it is exactly about it, but anyways, I would mess around with that color a bit more. For the characters themselves, I think there's 2 things you should look out for. So I know the green guy has his hand around the waist of the purple guy, but his hand's a little low for comfort. So I would move that if I were you. Just a smidge, whether it's just like you can see like his fingers on the hip or maybe move it up higher on the waist. Something like that is a little low. The other thing, I think it might just be like the positioning or posing of the green guy. I think he needs to be... I think the direction of like his spine needs to be changed a little bit because right now he's like leaned forward, but I think he needs to like lean back a little bit more so it looks like he just lifted the purple guy up. So maybe making his like torso kind of follow the shape or the line of his neck here, so like follow it down this way. And you can use this arm to kind of direct it back into like fill this corner and like direct the piece, the flow of the composition like back in. Just because like it looks a little bit awkward, I think it'll follow the momentum of the gesture a bit better. I drew Carter first and then readjusted Finbar because he ended up out of frame. Oh no. But yeah, I think you just need to fix Carter's, or not fix, but like change Carter's like stance a little bit. I think part of it is because his like upper torso looks like out of line with the rest of his body. And I would also, if I were you, define his pectoral muscles a little bit. They're looking a little too soft. Though it could just be it feels weird because like I said, his shoulders and kind of upper chest don't quite match like the line of his spine. Yeah. And I think Finbar, his torso is a little bit small. It might help to shrink the characters down a little bit because I think Finbar needs to be a little bit taller just compared to his legs. So you might need to make them a bit smaller to kind of fit into the composition. I like making them look more like Booba. Okay, if it's a choice, then go for it. I just wasn't sure if it was accidental or not. We support the boba. Yeah, otherwise I think like it's really cute. I think it fits the tone of the story really well. I think you did, like, in particular, a really good job with defining Finbar's front leg here. There's like a really nice highlight on it. It's well, like, the form is really well shaped. You just did a good job. I'd also be careful with the shading on Finbar's shirt. Like, I like that you're using the black to kind of denote, like, I guess like a shiny shirt, kind of. But it does feel like a little bit messy. I'd go in and clean it up a little bit. Maybe fill in the some of the fills. There's a plot part with him confusing his little captain. Okay. Bless. I'm proud of that leg. You can do it again. You did it once, you can do it again. It's a good leg. Yeah. Do you have any other questions on this? Or anything I didn't cover? This is great. Awesome. Okay. Okay, so your last submission is the cover for Mackie Roll. Does it make you want to read it? Can you tell it's a sports and gymnastics comic? Definitely. I can definitely tell it's gymnastics. It is hard because I do know what the plot of the story is, but I know how to make it work for my next 10,000 concepts. Bless. Okay. So yeah, I can definitely tell it's gymnastics. Just from like Mackie's outfit with the, what's it called? The horse? Something horse? Where they do the flippies. They do the little flippies around it. I don't know gymnastics terms. But yeah, I definitely get that it's gymnastics. I can also tell that it's probably sports related with like the medal and stuff. Oh, hi, Miku. Come here. Do you want to help me review the comic? Come here. Dang it, I lost the cat. She's gone. Pommel horse. Okay. What was I saying? Right. Yeah. So I can tell that it's sports. I can tell that it's gymnastics related. She's back. Miku. Oh, okay. Well. Just see her in the distance, mocking me, not wanting to cuddle. Okay. So, does it make me want to read it? I think it shows like a lot of character with it, where you can tell that like just from like his troubled expression, the vibe I get from it, like looking at it, where I'm like, okay, it's a sports story. This is I'm sorry, I need to take a break. A brief intermission to to show you this lovely Valentine's present. Late Valentine's. A gift. Hi. You gonna come out, baby? No? You gonna stay in the bag? Oh dear, I didn't think about this. A gift. Miko, will you be my Valentine? Lear, don't do it. Lear, no. Don't do it. Miko, will you be my Valentine? Do you have any critiques? What are you gonna say about the comic cover? Do you like it? She's a harsh critic. Oh, the blinky! For those who don't know, when a cat blinks, it means they trust you. Or they're trying to get you to be nice. So they'll do it sometimes when they feel threatened to say like, I'm not a threat. But usually when they blink, it's because they trust you. Or yeah, or they want your food. But it means I love you and cat, okay? Oh, I'm grabbing the mic. Do you want to sing? You want to go? I'll stop torturing. Okay, goodbye, Miku. Anyways, brief intermission done. Step 1, place the gift bag down. Step 2, wait for a cat to jump in. Exactly. I like your channel. Oh, thank you. Thank you for watching. We learned how to catch a cat. Anyways, like I was saying, so looking at the cover, it feels like, what is it? It feels like with his dejected expression and the pose, it feels like he's trying to like win the gold or win a competition, but it's like a struggle, or he's worried about it, or we almost got to hear the wise cat words. I know, right? She's hiding her wisdom. It's too powerful for even me to comprehend her art skills. But anyways, it feels like there's like character conflict, or something going on there that adds some intrigue. If I was someone who's interested in like gymnastics stuff, I'd definitely probably look at this and pick it up. I really like what you've done with the title, where I really like the added metal to it. It adds like a little bit of character to the title, if that makes sense. And it's like a good incorporation into like the story and the goal of the comic and stuff. And I really like the title font for Mackie Roll. And I like how you've tucked it behind him, put in front of the pommel horse. I think that's really well done. If I were you though, I would bring your story and art byline up a little bit, like just move it away from the edges a smidge. So yeah, that's just one thing to look out for, but the title placement is great. I also, when I looked at this, when I saw like the muscles on him, I was like, because I've seen like early draft stuff, so I thought, well, I guess the 1 is probably like the volume title, but I saw it and I was like, oh, is this like later after he's like started training and stuff and he's gotten more muscular? I thought that was neat. So yeah. But if he's too muscular for what you were intending, then yeah, I would tone down the muscle definition a bit. But yeah, I like the kind of echo of like the spike kind of design on his shirt with the spikes of the title. I'd like to see more of that motif through it. I'm not sure how. I saved only what was on the cup border, but it was still close to the edge. Oh, okay. Yeah, I would definitely move it in. So if this is like the cup border, I would definitely move it in. Because if you were printing this and that was where it was going to cut, there's going to be some where it's like the whole by line is like cut in half. Because sometimes when printing, things will cut uneven, which is why they tell you to have like a lot of margin outside of the trim line. I drew closer to what he is now, but I'll need to fix that. Okay. Yeah, I definitely would make his arms look less defined if it's like him early on in the story. Let me think. I think you could also add in some good detail to the floor. If you added in... I think you could do it really easily with just a few lines. So like adding in like, I don't know, the edge of like implying the edge of like one of the like exercise mats that they have for like soft landings and stuff, just showing that, or like lines in the floor to show tile or like different mats and stuff, just to define kind of the grid of the floor a little bit and add some more detail in. Because I like how you've got the shadows and stuff, like it feels like he's in a room, but I think adding like just a little bit of detail onto the floor could bring in like, could help with the composition and lead the eye around. Yeah, like adding some little lines for the crash mat would probably help. And you can follow the perspective lines that you use for the pommel horse. Or a chalk ball. That could also work. I don't know what that is, but sure. Yeah, just adding like some little hints of detail into the background. Not too much because you don't want it to distract from like the other stuff. Where? Cats? Cats? The cats don't want me to critique things. Oh dear. Cat's mad. But yeah. Anyways. So I think that could help with it. I would also do a little bit of cleanup on the line work on his arm and legs. Like, I think it's mostly here on like his knee and his arms where things get a little bit more sketchy than they are elsewhere. I'd clean it up just a little bit. And I only noticed it here where it looks like there wasn't fill on his legs, so it looks like there's a cut in his pants, but I think it's just like a color that didn't get filled, so just keep an eye out for that. I would also, when you're shading his hair, it looks like you use like a brown or a red for shading, which works really well for like his skin because he's got like a reddish undertone. But using red to shade on the green, it really desaturates it. It turns it really muddy and gray. So I would use a blue or a dark green. If you wanted it to be more warm, you could use maybe more like a yellowy green. If you wanted to make it warm, if you want to keep it cool, then I'd use like a blue or a bluey green to shade it. But that's just something to keep an eye out for with your greens here. I didn't do line art. That's just a sketch. These are just concepts. Oh, okay. Then never mind about the sketchiness. Yeah, I think this looks really great for a concept. Yeah. Was there anything else here that I didn't cover or that you wanted me to talk about? This has been very helpful. Awesome. Well, thanks for submitting. All of you who have been like long time submitters, patrons, people who do the critique stream. I really like seeing how much you guys have all improved. It's really cool because I can look back at like older art you've done from previous submissions, and like everyone's talents are just always skyrocketing and your skills getting better. It's really cool to see. All right. So Ink, who I don't think is here, but you can watch this later and let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So for this month, I have a couple creature designs. They're both Titans / kaiju. We love a kaiju. I have questions. What vibes do they give off? Peaceful, happy, aggressive, etc. How's the composition, anatomy, and color scheme? Are the designs cohesive? The textures on the creatures, such as like the forest and dirt on the boar, look like textures. Are they missing anything? Okay, so I'll answer the first question first. So what vibes do they give off? Okay, I'll start with the boar. So the boar looks more kind of peaceful. It feels like in this world, it just kind of does its own thing. It's not like out rampaging and attacking people. It looks just like, it reminds me of like, okay, I know elephants can rampage and stuff, like male elephants and stuff, but it's very peaceful, like, looks like a friendly giant type of thing, where... Please don't the first time mark cover is not so good. Well, you've come a long way, Kuro. So there. You've seen my old art. My old art is not so good, but it's cool to see improvement. Anyways, so yeah, so the boar looks very like peaceful, gentle, just doing its own thing. I'm sure it could cause destruction if it needed to, but it feels very like chill, doing its own thing. I really love the size comparison of like the people on horses. It feels like they're guiding it, kinda. It could be that they're just like on this path, like traveling by, but it feels like they're guiding it to keep it on track or something, or to like just stick near it because they like it or whatever, or it needs to be protected or something. I think that's a really neat like world building detail in this picture. So that's the vibe I get. So question 2. How's the composition, anatomy, and color scheme? Compositionally, so I think compositionally it feels a little flat. Oh, bye, Kuro. It feels a little flat. It feels like... Okay, so the reason it feels flat is because the boar is like right in the middle of it, of the composition. It's like halved. It's like, it feels like it's cut into quarters because like the horizon line with the mountains is like right through the middle. The boar is like right on the center line, which I'm not saying putting things like slicing your composition in halves is bad. It can create a sense of like balance, for example, but generally to have like a dynamic composition, you'll want to use the rule of thirds. So basically if you like cut your composition horizontally and vertically into 3 pieces, wherever the lines of those pieces intersect is like a third, I guess. So like one would be like here. You'd have your... Wait, no. I'm dumb. You'd have like one here is like a focal point. One here is like a focal point, and down here or whatever. But yeah, so where those lines intersect, you'd have like a focal point, which creates like, it's an interesting place to put the focus of your piece. yeah, it just feels more dynamic when you put things in like a third of the page. So for something like this, where you're trying to show like the size of this creature, I'd say put it in like 2/3 of your composition, and then have the last third be like, you know, the sky and the ground and the empty space. There's a bunch of different ways you could probably place it, but the way it is right now, it feels very flat. The composition is very halved. So that's something to watch out for in the future. As for like a concept to just get like this character down, I think it works fine. Or is it a character or is it scenery? It's kind of a mix. But yeah, so compositionally, I'd say that's where it's at. Color scheme, I like what you've done. You've got a good mix of like these very warm, like you have some like cool colors, like you're using like greens and blues and purples and stuff, but it all feels very warm. I think that adds to like the peaceful vibe. Oh shit, I mean shoot. Hi Ink. Welcome. The creature's so large that it's part of the environment. Yeah, exactly. It's like a mix. But anyways, like I was saying, I think you've got a good balance where you've got all these different colors, but they feel very warm. I think you've done a good job with like bringing the color direction together. Exactly, the scenery can feel like a character. Have you ever animated something before? I have. I'm not good at animation and I don't know much about it, but I have animated things. Like bare bones animation stuff. I tried getting into it, but it's not for me. Anyways. I think the lighting in the background doesn't quite match the lighting on the boar. I think it just needs more contrast. So like you've got, it's kind of hard to tell. The lighting seems to be coming from like the right side, and like, you know, the sun is setting, so the sun is low. But like when the sun is setting, you get these really like long dark shadows. So I feel like the shadow on the ground would be like kind of pushed towards the back and a lot longer and drawn out. I think it also leads to really like dark shadows, especially at the back of the boar, where it would be like really hidden from the light. There'd be like really dark shadows, maybe underneath and like at the back of the legs and like up at the top here, just because like the sun is like over here. So the front would probably be lit, and then you'd have these like really dark long shadows that would like stretch across the body of the boar. It would be a lot of detail work because you have all these like trees and stuff. And then same with the mountains, where like there's a lot of shadow missing from like the trees here, the mountains and their position. And I think like adding into that and really defining those shadows would really help with like making this like piece come alive. Yeah, because you've got a lot of contrast with like the purple at the top, because it gets like, I think that's like your darkest color is like up here, and I'd love to see more of that kind of like dark color kind of brought throughout the rest of the design and like darken up your shadows here and there. Anatomy stuff. I think anatomy wise it works pretty well. I think this front leg on the boar feels like a little bit thicker than the one at the back, where it feels like the back one has a bit more like muscle definition in it and it's a bit skinnier. I might define the muscles on the front leg here a little bit more. But otherwise, I don't really see any anatomy issues. Are the designs cohesive looking? I think so. From a color perspective, it's very cohesive. Like, you're using a lot of like warm browns and then these like kind of yellowy. It's neat because with the green you've got like a nice mix of like yellowy green and then like the more blue green. I think you've done a good job balancing it out. I think it does get a little bit muddy on the back of the boar, where it feels a little mid-tone, a little grayed out, where you've got like some nice rich colors down at the bottom in the shadow and stuff. Are the designs cohesive? I think so. I think you've done a good job like making the concept work. You know? That makes sense. You got lots of like echo with like the tree shapes, with the mountains. I think it's cohesive. And the textures. Okay, so for the textures, I think, like I was saying with the color, so the back of the boar gets kind of lost. It feels very mid-tone. It's very, like, soft shaded. I think you really needed to go in and add those really stark shadows, especially for this lighting situation that it is. And I think it just needs more detail. There's a lot of it that feels empty. Like, I like how you've got these, like, highlight spots of these, like, big trees growing out. And like the lakes and the rocks and all this stuff and like the flower at the bottom. Like, I like what you've done there, but in between those things it feels so empty. And I'd love to see like some really dark shadows going in with like a little detail brush and adding in like more texture to show like the land and the grass and the trees and the roots mixing in and stuff. I'd also say, I think because I've seen this before for a previous critique, I think there's some places where the trees feel a little bit like too evenly spaced. I notice it most here on his face, where like I'd love to see more of it, like more variation in like the size of the trees and the placement. So like some of them are clumped together and some of them are spread apart. Like pushing that a little bit more I think will really help with like keeping the design interesting and making it look kind of like more like natural scenery. I'd look at, for reference, I'd go look at like pictures of like foresty mountain ranges. I'm thinking of like a nature documentary where they were talking about like the mountains. I think they were in China, where it was like forest and mountains. That might be like, that kind of area might be like a good place to look at for reference. Just so you can see like, just kind of filling in the spaces in between. Because I think this is a good start. It just needs more of that like texture and building up little details and stuff. But I do really like how it looks like it's got this kind of like armor stuff like on top, and you can see like the fur and the hoofs like underneath in like patches where it's kind of been rubbed away at like its joints. I think that's really cool. It's a really cool concept and I really like the idea. I think it just needs to be like filled out a little bit more. And same with the scenery on the ground. There's lots of space in between these trees. It would be interesting to see like if this thing is walking like as a world building thing, like seeing its footprints, or like if this is a path that it travels on all the time, seeing like this big swath of land just like flatten down and like turn to like dirt because it walks by it all the time. The same way like, you know, there's like foot trails and stuff that where, you know, people and animals go up and down them so much that they're just like dirt and everything else around them is like grass and trees and stuff. It would be interesting to see it like, yeah, it's like cleared this path and it looks like there's this like human path here. And just seeing like as it gets away from the path, like the forest can get more dense. I also think that there's the same issue with the mountains here with the trees where they're very like spaced out evenly, where I feel like they'd be mixed into the mountains a bit more. Like you'd probably have kind of like flat spaces that would be covered in trees and dirt, and then the stone, you'd have like bits of stone shining through, if that makes sense. It definitely helps to get reference for that stuff. Do you have any questions, Ink? I feel like I went really hard on this one. Just let me know if you have questions or I didn't cover anything. I think you hit all the points. Awesome. Okay, I will look at the next one. Okay, so the first question, what vibes? So this creature feels a lot more aggressive. I don't know. It's a mix between looking kind of scary and also just looking kind of like fun-loving. It's cool. It's like a narwhal dragon, kinda. It's a really cool creature design. But it looks a little terrifying and like it's gonna eat me a little bit. So those are the vibes I'm getting. It's a little, I think it's like the eye and the mouth. It just looks like it's coming for me. It's gonna eat me. It looks a little scary. Scary but not aggressive. Yeah. Okay, composition, anatomy, and color scheme. So color scheme. I think, okay, so I like the colors on the narwhal creature, and I really like the colors in the sky. I feel like they match really well, just with like the purple and pink, and like the really green, like kelp seaweed type stuff on the narwhal. It really, like, the colors just feel very cohesive there. I think on the, it looks like tundra here, like snow, and the water, it feels like it doesn't quite match up. Like, I'd love to see you bring in some more really light, kind of saturated colors into the snow. That's an interesting thing with like coloring white, is you can bring a lot of colors into it. You can bring like blues and pinks and oranges and greens and stuff into white because it reflects so much. Where I think here it's coming across kind of flat because you're using gray. It looks like there's a little bit of like bluey purple in it, but it's very kind of gray and mid-tone. And I'd be interested in seeing some more colors brought into it. I also think the blue of the water clashes a little bit. I might bring some more green into it because I think that would complement the like pinky purple a lot, like making it more of like a bluey, or not blue, more green blue. Yeah, and I think that could also help inform like the color you use for the snow. But other than that, I think the colors work really well. Hi, Sammy. Welcome. We're almost done. So that's the color scheme. Anatomy. I really like what you've done with like the tail, how it's like curving around, and the perspective on it is really cool. Oh, composition wise, I think this works a lot better. You're doing a really good job of like, it's more weighted towards like the bottom right side with like where the creature is positioned, whereas like the upper third is more like the background. So I think that's a really good work with the composition. It's also very dynamic because you've got like the diagonal of the creature and the shoreline, with the like spirals on the horn and all the textures and the seaweed stuff like flying back, and the shadow on the coastline and stuff. It's all very, it creates a lot of like dynamicness. It uses leading lines to lead your eye around. I think it's just, it works really well like compositionally. It's a lot stronger than the other one that you showed me. Anatomy wise, yeah, so like I said, I really like how you've used the tail and the perspective. I feel like it's got a lot of like shape and weight to it. Like I like how you've shown the shadows on the wings. Really good shadow work on like the tail and the head. Like you've got these nice dark shadows and stuff, and it really feels like the lighting is affecting the creature. I think the ground needs a bit of work. Like I think you need a bit more of a gradient in the shading, and I'd love to see like the really dark shadow of the creature on the ground as well. It would probably be cast kind of towards the back here, but that would be really cool to see. And I wasn't sure if these were spikes or trees at the bottom. I think they're trees or spikes. I'm not sure. If they're spikes, I'm not sure. But if they're trees, they feel like they're sprouted a bit too evenly, and I feel like there wouldn't be trees this close to the ice caps and the ice floating around. But if they're spikes and it's just cool world building stuff, I don't know. I might, again, like the trees on the boar, I do groupings of them. It feels more visually interesting, whereas like here it feels very like man-made. You know how you'll go to like a forest that's like planted by people and everything's in rows? Like it feels like that, whereas like nature is a lot more like things group together and like or have weird spacing between them. They're a lot more random feeling. There's spikes. Admittedly, the background is somewhat of a placeholder. I think you could do a really cool job with just like if you use just like flat tundra and then just use the shadow and gradient from like the monster. That would be pretty cool. I think it would also help highlight the monster because right now the spikes are a little bit distracting from the design. But yeah, play around with it. The textures on the creatures. Okay. So as for the texture, I think the textures on here are really cool. I really like the... I'm not sure if it's like coral or like scales or like strips of skin or something, but I really like this kind of like feathery stuff at the front and the like kind of it looks like, I know it's like coral, but it looks like moss, that kind of like textury stuff. I really like how that's laid out and attached to things. The coral's really cool. I think there's a couple places like this particular part right here. Like I liked how you're trying to do like perspective and bring it forward, but it feels a little inorganic just being like this flat cylinder. I might like bring it to a point or make it look more organic by like splitting it or something. It's coral basically. The green is seaweed. Okay. But yeah, I really like it. I think overall you've done a lot of cool texture with it. I like the placement of it all. It adds a lot of visual interest. I think with the 3 little coral spikes on the horn, I might vary the size of them, like make one of them like smaller just to create more of that kind of visual interest. Because using 3 elements in a group is a good idea, because it makes you want to kind of like bounce around the 3 points, and it adds like interesting stuff compositionally. But having them all the same size can be like a little bit boring. It helps to like vary up the size, just to create more visual interest. And I think with these little coral bits on the wings, or the fins, I guess, wing fins. Anyways, again, they feel a little bit spaced out too evenly. I'd like to see them more in groups and using various sizes again, just to create more visual interest. But otherwise, I think it's a really good job. Oh, I forgot to mention, anatomy-wise, I think there's something a little bit weird going on with the mouth. It feels like it's been turned out of perspective a bit. I think with just the way that its head is facing, the jaw would kind of fill out a little bit more. I think it's just the bottom jaw that feels like it's been squished a bit too much. I feel like it would be a bit wider and go towards the back here to line up with the top jaw. Otherwise, it looks super cool. Really cool work with the textures and the composition and the colors. Yeah. Really like this guy. Cool dragon narwhal kaiju. Would hitch a ride on. Except not, because then it would go in the water and I would die. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Or anything I didn't cover here? Let me know. That's a lot that hit the points. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for submitting. Alright, that's it. Mako, why are you growling? Mako, come here. Come here. Can you come up? Oh, hello. There's the baby. Alright, thank you for joining us. I'm gonna go. If you would like to have your stuff critiqued next month, you can sign up for our Patreon. There should be a link down below. You get access to a lot of cool Discord perks and fun stuff, and you get your stuff critiqued. And we look at comics, designs, writing, scenery, I don't know, lots of stuff. We'll review it, me and Bones. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Please like the video if you had fun. I mean, I'd appreciate it if you liked it, even if you didn't have fun, but you don't have to. And make sure to subscribe if you're new here. Yeah. I'm out of brain because I talked a lot. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. We'll be back on Thursday for another stream. Take care. Okay, I love you guys. Goodbye.